Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting to order, the San Gabriel City Council meeting, Tuesday, April 18th, 2023. Pledge allegiance tonight will be led by Vice Mayor Wu.
Please place your hands on your heart and repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Clerk, roll call, please.
Mayor Harrington,
Here.
Vice Mayor Wu,
Here.
Councilmember Chan,
Here.
Councilmember Ding,
Here.
Councilmember Menchaca.
Here.
Closed session report.
Certainly, Mr. Mayor, and ladies and gentlemen of the council, the board met in closed session to discuss two items. The first was existing litigation identified as American Medical Response West versus the California Department of Healthcare Services. City Council received a report from the city attorney on that matter. No reportable action took place. City Council also met to discuss labor negotiations with the four labor organizations identified on the agenda. Received a report from City Manager Lazaretto and Human Resources Manager Macias. Again, no reportable action took place. Mr. Mayor, that concludes the report.
Thank you. We will now have some announcements from the Chief City Clerk.
Tonight's meeting is live streamed on Cable Channel 3 and the city's online platforms. If you wish to address the City Council during tonight's meeting, we request that you please complete a speaker's card and hand it to the clerk. When speaking, please state your name for the record. If you wish to receive City Council agendas, please sign up on the city's website.
Thank you. Next item is the approval of the agenda order. Are there any objections to the agenda order? Hearing none, the agenda is approved. Agenda order. Next item, please.
Presentations. Automated External Defibrillator AED presentation. Fire Chief Wallace will make the presentation.
Good evening, Mayor Harrington, Vice Mayor Wu, and members of the San Gabriel City Council. Once again, Steve Wallace, Fire Chief for the city, up here tonight to really tell you about an exciting new program that we're going to deploy into the city. The fire department is very, very pleased to announce that we have purchased automatic external defibrillators, known as AEDs, for placement in all of our city facilities. What this means is that with the AEDs that are already carried on all the police radio cars and the full function cardiac monitor defibrillators that are carried on all the fire apparatus, a defibrillation device is going to be readily accessible in every single San Gabriel City facility. This purchase and deployment of the devices is another great step forward in enhanced services provided by the City of San Gabriel to protect its citizens and visitors. We've purchased a total of 10 of these devices. They're all going to be public-facing, and they'll be placed in the next few months as we accept delivery. And they'll be placed in both levels of City Hall, the McGroarty Building, the Smith Park Pool, as well as the Park Office, Lugo Park in the office, the Public Works Facility, the Mission Playhouse, which is going to receive two, one for the front of house area and one for backstage, and last but not least, the Community Services Building. With the deployment of these devices, training for staff will begin shortly with our goal of having multiple people in each city department trained in the use of not only the AED, but basic CPR. Monthly inspections which are required and functional checks will be performed by both people within the departments and followed up on by individual fire companies as part of their normal inspection cycle. The electrode pads that are used in the device are 100% compatible with the pads that are used in the police officers' AEDs, which is actually the same model, as well as the full function defibrillators that we use on the fire apparatus, making for rapid swap and deployment when EMS gets on scene. AEDs are a very, very important link in the chain of survival of sudden cardiac arrest. As you know, think of your heart, it's like a pump with a very, very complex electrical system. When an electrical malfunction occurs in the cardiac conduction system, blood flow stops. And that stops oxygen from reaching your brain and your organs. And within minutes, irreparable damage can be done. Although high-quality CPR is very, very important in maintaining blood circulation during a cardiac arrest, the AED is the only path to restoring a normal heartbeat in a cardiac arrest victim in ventricular fibrillation. Ventricular fibrillation is basically a heart rhythm. It's completely unorganized electrical activity. Think of your heart just shaking, right? Shaking not creating any impulses, not creating any pumping action, circulating blood to the body. So in the United States in 2022, there were over 356,000 out-of-hospital cardiac arrests, with unattended arrests having a fatality rate of nearly 90%. Data from the American Heart Association shows that bystander intervention with the AED and high-quality CPR nearly doubles the survival rate in those cases. The city of San Gabriel has very, very robust EMS services, which is a great thing, but intervention prior to EMS arrival shows greater benefit in the overall outcome of cardiac arrests. On average, the San Gabriel Fire Department responds to 52 medically related cardiac arrests every year. I've pulled trauma-related arrests out because that's generally a different mechanism. But the medically related cardiac arrests, it averages about to one a week in our city. A majority of the incidents are in private homes and care facilities, but still a significant number are witnessed in public locations. We enjoy a great response time in our city. We're generally on scene on EMS calls in under 4 minutes and 30 seconds from the time 911 is called till the time our first unit is on scene. But those 4 minutes and 30 seconds are time that blood's not circulating and oxygen's not getting to your brain and other organs. Medical attention must be administered as soon as possible after a victim collapses, and the chances for survival decrease 7 to 10% with every minute without any intervention. Many of the sudden cardiac arrests occur outside the hospital setting, and that's why it's so important to have public access AEDs, which we'll be providing here. So the purchase of this device was funded through existing fire department funds. We were able to find some money in our disaster prep in the EOC that was not allocated at this point of the year. So we went forward and with a great partnership with Zoll, who does our rest of our cardiac monitors in a very, very generous pricing scheme, we were able to purchase 10 units as well as the wall-mounted cabinets that are going to keep each device safe and ready for use. To conclude, the fire department staff and administration wish to thank the council for your continued support of public safety, which are making programs like this possible, and just your ongoing commitment to public safety in the city. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief.
Mayor, may I ask a question?
Certainly.
Hello, Chief. I'm just kind of curious, do schools have these AEDs, or is it not
Schools do-
appropriate, I guess, or I'm not sure?
It's a good, great question, because it is very, very appropriate. I can show you right now how easy this is to use.
Well, no, I believe you.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of curious.
Volunteered.
I'm not going to try them on anybody unless any of those other staff tonight. actually
Yeah, no,
have
I'm
our
just,
staff.
I'm just asking about the schools because I wasn't sure if it was required. I mean, we talked about, having I always forget the name, for the fentanyl
Right,
situations.
the Narcan, yeah.
That's it, thank you.
Yeah.
I know the schools now are required to have that, but our AED, I'm thinking more like the teachers. I've seen situations where teachers, may have a heart attack or some kind of ailment, and if they don't have it, they depend on us, but as you said, every minute counts. I'm not saying we should fund it, but maybe work with them to encourage them to find something in their budget. I'm just asking the question.
Sure. And again, it's a great question, because if we're putting them in our city now, the standard of care is going to be for everyone to have it. My experience in the schools, at least in the San Gabriel Unified District, is the nurses' offices do have them.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's right, the nurse's
Yep.
office. Okay.
As far as any regulation, I don't have the knowledge to comment on that. Thankfully, I've only in my career come into 1 or 2 cardiac arrests in schools. It's generally been a sports-related incident, and training
Okay.
staffs have had those on football fields.
Okay.
So they do exist in the schools, to the best of my knowledge.
And then lastly, I have to put a plug in because I had surgery, as you know, recently, and I was in need of a wheelchair for a while. And I got to use one of the city's wheelchair, and it was not, it was very, very old and not in proper working condition. So I'm just going to put in a little request there, maybe look at wheelchairs for all the facilities too, because you just don't know when someone may fall or may have a need for it.
Sure.
And I think we have 2 or 3 of them, but they're all not fit for anybody, to be honest. And so something to also just to think about.
Yeah, I remember the one specifically.
Yes,
Yeah.
I got that one.
And I think trying to help you with the foot pedals on it. It was a challenge. I think that it's a no-brainer for us to work with staff and all the different departments and figure out what they need and make a device like that accessible in all our
Okay,
buildings.
great. Thank you so much, Chief. Thank you, Mayor.
Actually, may I?
Certainly.
If it's not too difficult, can you show us how it works, or just give a basic
Sure,
explanation?
It's very, very easy. You witness a cardiac arrest, the first thing you want to do is get EMS coming. So you see somebody go down, make your 911 call, get that in motion. The next thing you can do, these will be mounted through the building in wall cabinets. It'll have an AED tag above it. Ideally, we're going to alert a trained member of staff that can get it out and apply it. First thing they're going to do is going to take the cover off. You're going to expose someone's chest. You're checking for a pulse. You're checking for respirations. When that's absent, we're going to pull our pads out. They open up. And there's amazing pictures here. You can't miss. There's a red in a picture. Goes here. Then you'll see purple. And the other picture goes here. There's also a nice convenient pad out that goes in the proper place over the sternum for you to begin your CPR. Once the device is in place, you switch it on. It goes through a real brief self-check, which it's doing right now.
Change batteries. Adult pads.
So now it's telling me it's ready to
Stay
go.
calm.
It's telling me to stay calm.
Stay calm.
Call for help. Stay calm. Check responsiveness. Call for help.
So now I don't have the plaid paste on anybody, so
Open airway.
it's not going to analyze a rhythm. But it will prompt you to do the
Check
beginning steps of
breathing.
CPR.
Give 2 breaths. Attach defib pads to patient's bare chest.
There you go. So we'll attach the pads. You don't touch them. The machine will analyze to determine if it's a shockable rhythm. There are rhythms that aren't shockable. You see on TV all the time. As soon as anybody's heart
Attach
starts,
defib pads to patient's bare chest.
I think we get the idea of that.
So everybody can do it, or have
Everybody
to?
can do it.
Okay.
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
You'll see, you see on TV on medical shows all the time, no matter what happens, everybody gets
Okay.
shocked, right?
Okay.
And that's actually very, very inaccurate and inappropriate. There's only a couple of shockable rhythms. And with this, it can be very, very effective.
How much cost for each device?
We put all 10 of them in service with supplies in the cabinets for under $15,000.
$15,000.
Yeah, it was just a little bit under. So we got a good deal from our vendor as well. They've been very good to us. We have quite a few of their full-on cardiac monitors. So it wasn't too hard to convince them that for this, they should give us some good pricing, which they did. And they actually allowed us to not have to go through a distributor and direct to the factory, which was very, very convenient.
And then will be reusable after?
Yep.
Okay.
When this one's done, if it's used on an incident, this will be unplugged, this will be plugged into the EMS monitor. This is all done. It gets decontaminated, a new set of pads put in. It's checked, the batteries are checked, and it's put back into service.
Okay.
And then it's
That's
checked
good.
once a month for functionality.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any further questions? John?
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Chief Wallace. So this is easy to use, very user-friendly. Is anyone can access to this if needed?
Technically, anyone can access this thing.
So,
It's more effective with training, and that's what we'll endeavor to do, to have staff in all the city facilities trained in the use of it.
so normally we get a little, like a license, if we complete the CPR training, then we will have like a 1 year, like a training card that
Correct.
prove that we are able to help people when they stop breathing. So for this, is there any liabilities to the people, the citizens, who access to that unit and trying to help, but it doesn't work out?
When you're trained, it's a good question. Under the Good Samaritan laws, you're protected against liability. You're assumed that you would take the same reasonable actions that any person with that amount of training would take. And we have the device there. And I actually believe it reduces our liability, because this is a standard of care. You go into shopping centers, you go into airports, you go into most public facilities, and these are here. And now we're able to provide that as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Next item.
Public comment. This is the time set aside for members of the public to address the city council on items of interest that are not on the agenda but are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the San Gabriel City Council. If you wish to address the council, please fill out a speaker's card and hand it to the clerk. Our first comment tonight is from Alejandra Benavides and reads as follows. Thank you for your attention, Alejandra Benavides. We have reached a point where our fundamental economic structures are driving unprecedented inequality, social divisions, and ecological destruction amidst a politics of polarization. Multiple crises during the past 3 years, a global pandemic, critical shortage of affordable housing, and inflation have intensified suffering. These crises have displaced families, forcing tens of thousands of people into houselessness. An increasing number of people must work multiple jobs to survive. Today, a family renting a 2-bedroom apartment in most California regions pays an average of $2,300 per month. A person must earn $61.50 per hour to afford this, yet average hourly wages are $16 to $25. That means working 3 or 4 full-time jobs. I believe San Gabriel has an opportunity to participate in an effort to create an environment that can alleviate the question of who matters by adopting a meaningful inclusionary housing ordinance. The next comment is from Jean Raya and reads as follows. Council members, despite a year of discussion and the expense of drafting this proposed ordinance, I beg your pardon, Mater, I believe this is more appropriate under item C. Okay, we do have a speaker this evening, and that would be Andrew.
Good evening, City Council, City Mayor, City Manager. This weekend, I attended the Community Emergency Response Team class, and I'd like to commend Takahiro Suzuki for giving the class. Very professional, taught us really well. It was not a very well-attended class. There was only 5 people in the class. I know Chief Wallace told me that 15 people signed up for it, but only 5 apparently showed up. And the class is really important for our community. I believe that the city we need to find a better way to promote this type of training, because, you know, in a blink of an eye, a disaster can hit. Something as simple as something happening in your home, or a man-made disaster, you know, that kind of touches all of us. Now it's getting closer and closer. I know Denise lost Dora Marie in 911. A retired police officer from San Gabriel is healing from his wounds from Monterey Park. And there was a lady in the class who was actually at the San Bernardino shooting at the Inland Regional Center when one of her coworkers decided to come in and shoot his coworkers. And something like this could save lives. You know, it's a simple class. It's about 20 hours of training, and I think it was really going to help us the community to promote this better, so we could get more people with this training in the event that there is some type of an emergency. It might be something as simple as one of your children falling down the stairs and hitting themselves, and, you know, or some kind of injury. So yeah, I really think we need to try to find a way to promote this a little better. And also, coming up May 4th, I'll be attending the Community Academy. And I got the call this morning from Stacy Gutierrez, our crime prevention officer, to tell me that I had been accepted for the class. I've taken it in the past, and she told me there's plenty of room left in the class, so if anybody wants to attend that class, there's still room in the class to sign up and attend that class. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. My name is Jorge Rivera. I am with a nonprofit organization called the Healing and Justice Center. We're community-based and we're BIPOC-led. Our mission is to support BIPOC communities and organizations by creating safe, connected, and healing spaces. And we believe that if we're going to build strong, long-lasting social justice movements, healing-based and relationship-strengthening approaches must be at the center of our advocacy and our organizing. Some of our services include a free tenant counseling hotline, nonviolent parent education, regenerative conflict resolution, and our advocacy lies in tenants' rights and housing, as well as digital equity, which I want to speak on today. The COVID pandemic highlighted several community needs as it relates to internet access and broadband access. I think we all saw, if not heard, of the 2 children that were standing in front of a fast food restaurant just trying to get Wi-Fi to do their homework, right? And it's shameful that these children and other families during the pandemic had to resort to such measures just to be able to get the resources that they needed. If you wanted to go to work, if you wanted to go to school, if you wanted to get information on the vaccines, if you wanted to see your doctor, if you wanted to just pass time on Netflix or even attend a city council meeting, you would need broadband or internet access. But having the equipment and the literacy is also in addition to having the access to broadband, which is why we joined the Digital Equity Los Angeles Coalition, which is made up of over 50 organizations from all across different sectors like health, education, environment, and more. We've researched and highlighted discriminatory pricing practices of providers like Charter Spectrum, which services over 80% of Los Angeles County. We found that they were offering much lower prices in areas like Malibu and Palos Verdes than they were in areas like San Gabriel Valley. And so we published our pricing disparities report, and we urge the City Council to read it on our digitalequityla.org website. And we also urge the County Board of Supervisors to investigate these discriminatory pricing practices and to do something about it. So we are going around to all the city councils in San Gabriel Valley, since this is the area that we service, and we're asking city councils to submit letters of support to the LA County Board of Supervisors to further investigate this and to put a stop to the pricing discrimination. We've provided you with data, fact sheets outlining these disparities, sample letters of other city councils that have submitted to the Board of Supervisors, and we hope that we can have your support to ensure that all of your constituents have access to broadband and everybody has digital equity. And so we're available to answer any questions, to meet with you individually, to provide you with data, to be able to show sort of the disparities in your area, and we ask for your support. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mayor, may I suggest the speaker speak to our HERE Commission chairperson, because he mentioned equity quite a lot. So we do have a commission, sir, Mr. Rivera. It's called the Human Equity Access Relations Commission, and that's what they're focused on. And it's your lucky day. We have our chairperson here. She can wave. Maybe you can connect with her. Okay.
No further comments? Anybody from the audience have comments for the City Council? All right, close that item. Next item, please.
Consent calendar. All items listed under the consent calendar are considered routine, and recommendations will be approved in one motion unless a member of the City Council or public requests separate discussion. We have not received a request from the public to pull an item. However, we do have a request to speak on item 4H. Pursuant to Government Code Section 54953C3 reporting requirements, consent item H includes an increase of the maximum monthly salary for police chief to $20,000 and an increase of the monthly salary for city manager to $20,400.
Thank you. Would any member of council like to pull an item for separate discussion? Okay, seeing none, we'll have the public comment on the consent for all the items. It says here item H, but the speaker is Andrew, and he did not request to pull the item, just to have a discussion or a comment.
Good evening again. I just wanted to make a comment on the staff report for this raise for the chief and the city manager. In the staff report, there was 13 cities that were presented in the staff report to compare to San Gabriel. Of those 13 cities, I only found that one, Monrovia, was the only one that fit the size of our city, 40,000 residents, and the size of the police department. They have 80 personnel in their police department. Their chief, in the latest data on Transparent California, showed that his base pay was $192,000. During the same period, the base pay of Chief Harris was $206,000. So it was actually, our chief was actually making $14,000 base pay more than Monrovia. And what I saw in the staff report was, I noticed they compared us to Alhambra, which Alhambra has about a 230% size of population than San Gabriel. They compared us to West Covina, which is like 290% the size of the city of San Gabriel. And they also included Whittier, which Whittier oversees law enforcement for the city of Santa Fe Springs, which has a population total of about 270,000, 270% of that of the city of San Gabriel. So it seems like, you know, the staff report was presented in a way to manipulate the narrative of giving a raise and using cities that are much larger than us to use that as a reason for these raises. And I think these staff reports should, you know, they should kind of, if you're going to compare us to a city, compare us to a city that's close to the size of ours. I know in the San Gabriel Valley, there's not a lot of them, but in LA County there is. There's a few of them. And it kind of reminds me of when Tracy, I can't remember her name, she was the planning director a while back. I can't remember her name, but she would always compare us to Burbank, you know, and I would always tell her, why are you comparing us to Burbank? Burbank has Disney. They produce a movie that has a bigger budget than our city budget. How do you compare us to a city like that? So I just think that, you know, we need to find a way to have these staff reports, you know, just really be more realistic to when they're comparing us to cities, especially when it comes to a situation where we're trying to raise the wages of the personnel in our city. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, any motions?
I'll move to approve the consent agenda.
I second.
All right, we have a motion by Councilmember Menchaca, a second by Councilmember Ding. Are you abstaining?
No.
Abstention, or your vote is, are you voting
Oh, sorry.
abstention, or it's fine, you can. But make sure, I don't think you looked.
Motion passes by a vote of 5-0.
Thank you. Next item, please.
We have no public hearing or continued business this evening. Our next item is new business item A, proposed city fee schedule adjustments for fiscal year 2023 to 2024. Finance Director Kahola Kula will make the presentation.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of City Council. Will Kahola-Kula, Finance Director for the City of San Gabriel. Tonight, staff is presenting the proposed master fee schedule for fiscal year 23-24. At this point, staff is seeking City Council direction on the proposed adjustments to the master fee schedule. At a future meeting, after receiving City Council input, staff will present the master fee schedule for City Council adoption. This slide provides basic explanations of various revenue types that the city may receive. At the top left, we have user and regulatory fees. User fees are fees charged for the use of a public service or program. An example would be recreation programs. And then we have regulatory fees. These are fees charged for the regulatory activities of a public program. Examples is fire inspections or building permits. These fees are limited to recover the cost to provide those services. Next on the right, we have rents. These are fees for the use of a public property. An example is renting out the Mission Playhouse. These fees are set at the discretion of the city based on a fair and marketable rate. And then we have fines and penalties. This is revenue received upon a conviction of a misdemeanor or municipal infraction. The fine amount for the violation of municipal codes are set by the city, and the payments are allocated to the state, county, and city. So staff is asking for city council direction on these 3 types of fees. The 2 other types of fees, assessment and taxes, are not considered tonight, and they are generally requires a vote of those individuals be affected by those fees to pass those. This slide presents some background information as well as the approach to the fee adjustments for fiscal year 23-24. So March 2021 was the last time the city completed a formal fee and cost allocation study. The city's plan is to perform a formal fee and cost allocation study once every 5 years, so the next one would be for 25-26. As part of that adoption of that fee study, the city council approved a council resolution to increase fees annually on July 1st based on the Consumer Price Index for the Los Angeles metro area, and the CPI for January 2023 for the Los Angeles area was 5.8%. And so in preparation for this meeting, city staff met to discuss the fee schedule for the upcoming fiscal year. Just kind of looked at it to determine if there were any adjustments that needed to be made, what a 5.8% fee increase would look like, and if there are any new fees that we should consider to place on the fee schedule for this upcoming fiscal year. So based on those meetings, most fee adjustments are proposed to be increased by 5.8%, rounded to the nearest whole dollar. And there were other adjustments are proposed to reflect the cost of the service or the market rate. And there are a few fees that have been added to the fee schedule. So based on those proposed adjustments, the estimated revenue increase for the general fund is about $350,000 for fiscal year 23-24. So here are the new fees that are proposed for the next fiscal year. At the top, we have the automated residential solar permits. This fee was added in anticipation of the state's requirement for the cities to provide an automated solar permit process. The max fee that we can charge for this service is $450. We have an outdoor dining permit for the initial permit issuance and the permit renewal. This fee is set at 100% cost recovery. We have special plan reviews. These are the fee for the plan review after an individual has received 3 reviews. This is an hourly rate, $140 paid to the consultant plus 10% for city staff time. We have a staging permit, which is set at 100% cost recovery. And then we have fire inspection fees, which were added for apartments and hotels to more accurately charge the cost for these types of fire inspections. And this fee is set at 100% cost recovery. Here's just additional information regarding what other cities are doing regarding their fees, as well as the CPI for the last 12 months. As you can see, many of the cities are increasing their fees annually by CPI. And then in regards to CPI, it's been trending lower, and it has come down a little bit since the peak in June of 2022. City staff is asking City Council for direction to adjust fees for the fiscal year 23-24. As part of the budget process, the fee schedule will be brought back to City Council for approval. That budget process includes a budget study session on May 4th at a special City Council meeting. And then on the week of May 8th, we'll conduct individual budget meetings with council members. And then new for this fiscal year, on June 3rd, we'll do a Saturday community budget meeting, which is scheduled to be conducted at the San Gabriel Library. And then On June 6th, we'll conduct a public hearing on the proposed 23-24 operating and capital improvement program budgets, the fee schedule, and appropriations limit, where the city council will have an opportunity to adopt the budget if they so choose. That concludes the presentation. I can take any questions you may have.
Thank you, Will. Are there any questions from council, factual questions? All right. Do we have any public comment?
I have no speaker cards.
All right. Anybody in the audience that would like to speak on this topic? Seeing none, any council discussion? Nobody? Councilmember Ding.
The fee schedule, I just hear about it for the Mission Playhouse. We have some like a special rate for the nonprofit organization for the parking lot use, but then don't have any like special rate for the Mission Playhouse, the performance use, right? If they use the whole stage, that's how I hear about it. So is there any way we can set up some special law to give to some nonprofit organization if they're resident in the San Gabriel City, have some special discount or something like that? Yeah.
So you're saying rental rates?
Yeah,
for
rental rate. Yeah.
For nonprofits?
Yeah.
At the Mission Playhouse?
Actually, sorry. Okay. I just want to see how many nonprofit organization use the Mission Playhouse. If we can do the same study, and another thing is maybe we can do that as an option. But I know that Saturday is a very hard spot. Maybe just no discount, still general the fee. But maybe if not too many people use the Sunday, maybe we can say you're a nonprofit organization. If we want discount, give some to have some percentage discount. Okay. Yeah, that's my question and the recommendation. Yeah. So Rebecca, we have some idea.
Good evening, Mayor Harrington and members of the council. We can definitely take a look at that and come back with some information if the council is interested in having some nonprofit fees. We don't have those currently, aside from the parking lot and the courtyard area, or the plaza area, where we do have those nonprofit fees. We would just ask that council would take into consideration that this would also potentially change the amount of subsidy that the city is paying towards the Playhouse. So that would potentially be reducing the fee that is brought in if those agencies that are coming in as nonprofits are now considered, to have a discount for those fees. So we would just need to consider that. But if that's something council is interested in us looking at, we can definitely bring that back as part of the budget process.
I hope at least we do some study, see, because I know the Mission Playhouse it's really like costs our city money, but hopefully general fee will have some like a reasonable fee, then and plus have some discount for the nonprofit organization. To find some balance too. I don't want the city lose money too, but also let some nonprofit organization have some benefit on it. Yeah. And I also have suggestion for nonprofit organizations, encourage them to do if they do the fundraising something, help our city for the Mission Playhouse 100 years celebration. If they can join the discount program, it definitely give to some benefit at the discount. Yeah.
Great.
Thank you. Any other comments?
May I ask, is that something that at least a couple of other council members would be interested in? We don't have to make a decision on whether we'd have two different rates tonight, but before Director Perez and her staff go and do that, is that something that would interest at least three of you?
Yeah, I was thinking maybe during the budget process, that could be brought forward, because it is a delicate balance, because if we lend out the Mission Playhouse, we're losing revenue with someone who's paying full price versus our nonprofits. But at the same time, we want to be friendly to our, and we want them to come. So it would be a good conversation to have to see where we can reach that point. I know there was a nonprofit that approached both Councilmember Ding and I. They were making money, but they were going to make less money if they would charge us, or if we would charge them at the regular rate. So, at that point, what is a nonprofit? Is breaking even, or is it making more money than they usually do, which is going to, really worthy causes. But those are, I think, the conversations we need to kind of have. But I think during the budget process would be best.
And I think we could do something similar to what we did with the outdoor uses, which is if it's a short amount of time and we know that the facility isn't already being used, then we're not taking revenue away. But if somebody comes a year in advance, for example, and wants to book, we make several tens of thousands of dollars when we rent out for the weekend for some of these events. And so we'd want to make sure that they would be paying a higher price if they're locking it in that far in advance. Otherwise, we just have to all understand that we are eating into the revenue. But if that's something that we at least want to talk about, we can bring that information back.
Yeah, I agree. Like maybe it was if we do the analysis, it's a weekend. It's how many people use it. Maybe so that's I suggesting. If Sunday not too many people use the Mission Playhouse, maybe we can think about to give it to some benefit to have some discount if they like use the Sunday. Or if Saturday is very busy, maybe we can use the weekday, to give it to some incentive, to give it to if they want it. I don't want it, meaning don't want it, the city lose money too. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Wu.
Thank you, Mayor. So I guess we probably can give our staff directions. We just have the Mission Playhouse fee schedule that to, maybe propose a new schedule if we will be having some kind of like a discount or like a special rate for those nonprofit, then how the finance will be look like. I mean, then we will be able to make a better decision. And also, I do have a question for so how frequent, I mean, it shows that last adjustment for our fees schedule was 2021. Was that because, is it like an annual adjustment or because the pandemic, so we pause on increasing the fee? How does that, and also regarding, you have also provide a historical CPI. So we always take the January every year?
Yes, Vice Mayor Wu. We do take the January CPI every year. So in March 2021, we implemented, there was a formal fee study that was completed that brought us up to full cost recovery. And so that was effective for fiscal year 21-22. And then so fiscal years 22-23 we would increase those fees by CPI. And so we increased it by CPI, the January CPI for fiscal year 22-23, and then now we're proposing to increase it again in 23-24 by CPI again.
Well, thank you.
Any further comments from council? Questions? All right. There's no vote on this item, so next item, please.
Item B, Discover San Gabriel discussion and award of contract in the amount of $72,622 to We the Creative. Community Services Manager Matthew Morales-Stevens will make the presentation.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and members of the City Council. I'm pleased to bring an update on the new Discover San Gabriel publication that's with an anticipated release date of this coming fall. We did push it back a little bit just to spend some extra time fine-tuning all of the upcoming details that we're presenting tonight, but we anticipate it being a great publication moving forward. So after getting direction from council at the October 18th, 2022 City Council meeting to move forward with the release of the RFP for the graphic design services component, we received 9 responses back. Of the 9 responses, we outlined the chart, which outlines the various cost proposals. That's on page 2 under analysis. And you'll notice that we are recommending going with We the Creative, and though they are not the least inexpensive, we feel that what they're providing to the city or offering to the city outweighs or justifies the higher amount requested. Just keeping in mind that the overall goal of the publication is to reduce duplication of efforts, staff time, postage costs, developing an updated design that appeals to the public, and provide a consistent outlet for each department to share news and events of interest to residents. So it's hitting on a multitude of areas within our city. So that's why when we moved forward with the interviews with the companies that submitted their proposals, we really wanted to be cognizant, as well as reviewing their previous design work, that it could hit every box, that they could design something that was appealing to someone interested in a class, as well as someone who is looking for general news, and how do you make that appealing to all of those variety of audiences. And this company in particular provided a great example of there's some readers that are walkers and there's some that are runners, that some are going to just read every single page, and so they need to keep that in mind. And then there's some that are runners who are just going to flip through and find that one thing that they're interested in and move on. So that's the goal of the publication, is to keep all of those people in mind. With that said, We the Creative company is coming in at a design cost of $9,550. So essentially that's what I would consider a startup cost to have those conversations with staff, develop the design, come up with a couple different options, and then we can take it from there. And then the per issue cost will be $7,884. So essentially that $9,550 is only going to be for the first year. It drops off, and then we only have the up to per issue cost, which means if we decide to at any point reduce the number of pages, that price will go down, or if there's adjustments up or down, then the price will adjust accordingly. Of course, if it goes up, then the agreement will need to be changed, and we don't like that. But for the other ones, you'll notice that least expensive came in at $19,900 for year 1 as well as year 2, which means I didn't have a startup cost. The most expensive came in at $70,000 around $70,000 for the first year, so around $68,000 for year 2. The total cost for We the Creative for year 1 came in at $41,086, and year 2 it drops down to $31,536. And again, that does include all of the startup costs and kind of going back and forth with the company. In addition to all of the items mentioned before, We the Creative has over 25 years of experience in graphic design, as well as 13 years of those with experience specific to public agencies. So they've done work for the City of Irvine, City of Ontario, City of, now I'm blanking on the last one, but a multitude of cities. It is also included in their proposal as well, so you'll see all of the logos included on there. Now, going to page 3, you'll notice that we have on the top chart includes all of our current fees combined between the Grapevine Guide and the Grapevine newsletter, which is put out by the Community Services Department and the Public Information Office. So the combined design fees come out to about $28,300. The combined postage is about $23,000, and then printing is about $41,700. So our total budget is $93,000. Moving forward, if council decides to award the contract to We the Creative, as well as print to all of the residents in the city of San Gabriel and mail it to everyone in the city of San Gabriel, And I should, instead of people, I should reference the households rather than the actual individuals, because that would be exponentially higher. As mentioned before, the initial design cost would be $9,550. Per publication cost is $7,884. First year cost is $41,000. Second year cost is approximately $31,500. The estimated costs of printing per issue, we pulled that from our current printing company. They were kind enough to provide us a quote based off of how the Grapevine Guide is currently published. So council and staff may decide to go with a different route as far as the quality of paper or the size of the paper. So that, of course, the cost will adjust from there. And an RFP would need to be released for the new printing services for the new publication to determine which is the best direction for this particular one. The estimated cost for printing annually is $30,000. Estimated cost for postage is about $20,000. So there is the reduction in postage slightly, and there's the reduction in printing, which would be approximately $10,000. Again, we won't have those concrete numbers until we were to release an RFP. The reason why we are recommending the printing and mailing of the new publication, at least for the very first year, would be to allow the residents to become familiar with the publication, and then later on down the line, especially as the survey results that the Public Information Officer has released come in, and we can have a better idea as to are people interested in receiving their information via City Beat or Instagram or Facebook versus the print publication. At least they'll have a better idea as to kind of what this print publication is. Also, if later on down the road, council decides to do an opt-in, opt-out option, they'll know what they're opting in and out of versus this removing the other publication and then bringing in something new that they may not be exactly sure. We can tell them, but they may not be exactly sure what all it entails. And we'd want to make sure that they make an informed decision at that time. So the fiscal impact would be that it would cost $41,086 for the first year, and then $31,536 for the second year, and each subsequent year following. The agreement would be for a 2-year period and then 3 renewal periods. So that's something to keep in mind. We opted for the 2 years because it's going to take about a year for us to get really comfortable and really fine-tune everything, and then that second year will allow us to get feedback from residents, allow us to make sure that everything's going well. So if it hasn't been fine-tuned by then there's probably something to keep in mind. And then from there, it would allow those 1-year renewals. And assuming, so based off of the information above, it does fall within the current budgeted item, so it will be included in the FY 23-24 budget proposal. And so that would all be good to go moving forward, assuming council is okay with that. And then the recommendation is that City Council authorize the city manager to sign the agreement with We the Creative and act as the agent of the city on all matters concerning this project. Additionally, staff recommend the City Council approve the release of an RFP for printing services for Discover San Gabriel and the mailing of the publication to all residences within the San Gabriel with additional front counter copies. That would be counter copies here at the library, the City Council, or excuse me, City Hall, as well as our community centers as well. Be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for the report. Does any member of council have factual questions for staff to clarify?
I've got a quick question. When you calculate the printing cost, did you calculate that based on sending it to every single household, or based on what our printing costs are right now for the guides that we do have?
Yes. So we base it off of a 32-page publication, which is what the Discover San Gabriel one will be,
Okay.
as well as the same binding and paper quality that the Grapevine Guide is, and then mailing it to every single resident or residence within the city of San Gabriel, and that was provided directly from a company that currently offers the printing services.
So every single household, because I guess my question is because we currently have our publications that we do, the old way, I guess, that what we currently have. And I guess we have hard numbers as to what our current printing costs are Because we don't currently mail to everybody, do we?
Sure, so the mailing differs based off of each publication. So the Grapevine newsletter gets mailed to just residents of the city of San Gabriel, and then the Grapevine Guide gets mailed to a combination of residents, businesses, and unincorporated areas of the city of San
Okay.
Gabriel. So essentially, this is really just honing on hitting every single residence versus kind of merging the two, or the three.
And right now, we're, with the our historic publications, we're in that mergey area.
Correct,
The-
yeah, so potentially we're missing
I
some
see.
of the population.
Okay, all right. Yeah, just wanted to understand. Thank you.
Of course.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Wu.
Thank you, Mayor. So it shows the initial design cost is $9,550. So this is one-time fee.
Correct.
So that will be like a design that how Discover St. Gabriel will be look like. So you mentioned that we are signing a contract with WTC for 2 years and renewal another 3 years if we approved. If we decided to move to another company after 2 years, do we still have the copyright for what they have designed for us? Can we just keep the original design for next publications?
Sure, I would need to double check to see how the agreement is written to be sure that that was included in the agreement. But typically when we've worked with designers in the past, we retain that for future use. And typically once the design is put forward, it is easy to move forward with that. It's just that initial building blocks. But yes, another company potentially could duplicate, but of course, assuming that we're working well with them, it would be ideal to stay with the same company.
Yeah, because that means that once we switch to another company, we don't have to spend another initial design cost again for that particular reason. So another question is we try to maximize the power of Discover St. Gabriel, of course. I mean, we would like to have the best graphic designer so they can just make it really catch the people's eyeball. Are we able to do something similar to like an e-newspaper? Let me show you something. So this is the newspaper that we can just for people, they share the links, so they're able to read the newspaper just like reading a book online. But because the design cost we have already spent there, and is WTC provide the service for that?
So it is within their scope scope of their talents as far as the business is concerned. It is not something that we've included in this. You're referring to the actual digital platform, correct? Not the actual.
That means that it
design.
looks just like an actual publications, so people can just watch it and just zoom in, zoom out.
Yes.
I mean, if we spend the money to design the publication, then we combine both in one. Are we able to ask if this is something that we can? It's more like a repeating that we can have more people to read what we have on our publication.
Sure. So if I'm understanding correctly, is it the layout that you're looking for, or just the usability of it on the?
I mean, every time we publish that, I mean, we can just provide a link so people can just read it like this.
Perfect.
Without even they don't really have they don't receive that by mail, but they still can do it online.
Yes, thank you for clarifying.
Yes.
So yes, we currently offer both publications in a digital form, but they're not necessarily as user-friendly as that is. We run into some roadblocks with the way our website is put together, but we will do more research to see how we can make it even more user-friendly in the format in which you're looking for. Right now, it's just a scrolling PDF. You can zoom in, zoom out, but there are other technologies that potentially will cost money, not typically as much as something like this, but that could be worked in or integrated into the city website to make it easier for the reader.
So we do have a PDF file.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Of course.
Can I speak on the intellectual property rights question?
Yeah, I was going to mention that.
So it is in the contract, and the way the contract's set up, the work done is considered a work for hire, meaning although they're the ones creating the work, it's understood that the work will be owned by the city. And further, the contractor can't use any of the materials for any other project without getting permission of the city. It's the city's property.
Thank you very much for clarification.
Thank you. Any further questions? Ding.
Based on the page 3, you estimate like first year is 91,000, second year 82,000. How, based on the like your initial design and the per publication cost, and I know the first year, second year you can separate. Add on together, I don't think it's 91,000. It's more than that.
I'm sorry, I'm not quite
Yeah,
understanding.
you can, page 3, you see that you have the like estimate cost for the printing annually at 30,000, and postage is in 20,000. That's add on together the 50,000, and then plus just only if we use this called We Creative, the 41,000. If even add on these 3, it's already 91,000. It's not include the initial costs and not include the per publication costs. And you have the one line called estimate cost for the printing per issue. So it's 7,000. So how many issue annually we have?
Sure. So my apologies for not making that as clear as it could be. So we would be releasing 4 publications per year, or per fiscal year, however you want to look at that. So it would be the 7,617 per issue, and then the 9,550 as a startup initial design fee. So the initial design cost and the per publication issue is included in that first year cost of 41,000. So it would be the 7,884 times 4 times or plus the 9,550 would give you that first year cost, and then it would just be the 7,884 times 4 for the second year. I hope that's answering your question.
So all the line items are not additive. They're included in.
Right, it's
Correct.
hard to,
Yeah.
you know,
Correct.
see it,
My
but I,
apologies.
Yeah.
maybe the presentation might be a little bit different next time.
Sure.
So,
Definitely.
so yeah, Councilman Ding, I think it's $9,000 for the design, then 7,000 per quarter times 4, that's another 28,000. And then the printing, which is another 7,600, and then the 20 for postage. And I think that all adds up to about 91-ish. Is that?
So how about the printing annually and the postage annually? You have both that.
Printing,
That's included in the 41,000?
So the 41,000 would be just for the graphic design for the first year, and then the printing would be the 30,000 for the first year, and that's if you would have to divide that by 4, and then the postage annually is 20,000, and then you would essentially divide that by 4 to get the per issue postage. So essentially, just to get the total estimated first year cost of the 91,557, it's just the first year cost, the printing per issue or printing annually of the 30,000, and then the postage annually of 20,000 should get us at the 91,000.
Yeah, maybe because I had to remember, but maybe to the adjustment, see it's more accuracy how much expense in the annually. It's more help to understand it.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any further questions? Nope. Do we have any public comment?
I have no speaker cards.
Okay, so public comment, please. Oh, I thought you said you had 2 cards. I'm sorry. Oh, they said 2. Okay. Anybody in the audience that would like to give public comment? Seeing none, we will go to council discussion. Councilor Menchaca.
Yes, thank you. Okay. I wanted to understand, when did we begin with the Grapevine Guide and Grapevine newsletter? I guess Matthew or Rebecca, how long have we had that those 2 publications?
So the newsletters had a slight revamp back in 2015. So that's when they both they've been existent since then, so that much I can answer, but potentially Rebecca can provide a bit more.
Yeah, 'cause it felt
details.
like it was recent, and the contract reads, I think every 2 years, we're going to reevaluate. So,
Yes, the contract would be for that first 2 years and then a renewal every 1 year.
I can only speak to as long as I've been here, and I've been here since '98, and we've had both publications.
okay,
since that time.
but the redesign, like, the Grapevine newsletter was redesigned in 2015. Did we redesign the Grapevine Guide, too?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm just asking for that, like, how often should we be doing this? I completely agree what we need a change, but I was looking at the contract, and I just thought 2 years just seemed like such a short period of time. But I guess 2 years will give you guys ample time to see if it's working, and then we get to renew it every year. Is that what the conclusion you came to, apparently?
Right, and this would be the first time that we would have a combined publication.
Oh, that's
as well,
true,
which
yeah.
In the past, it's always been separate publications, so we've always had that eight publications a year. So this would be the first time that we'd have the combined publication.
Okay, good. Let's see, I know for I believe it's the Grapevine Guide, we've had ads in the past. With the new publication, is that out? No more ads? Not that we had a lot of people, but there was some interest.
Yeah, so we did receive several proposals without the addition of the collection of the ads. Several of the respondents expressed that that's not something that their organization does, or that it's too difficult to implement, and that the cost, some would actually cost the city more to collect ads than actually reduce our costs, which is opposite of what our intention was to provide the outlet to the public to put in those sponsorships, or ads, as well as reduce the graphic design cost.
Well, that's what I was thinking about,
Yeah.
somehow offsetting the cost,
Yeah.
but,
So-
okay, so the new approach is not to include ads?
Correct.
Okay. I thought I would ask. And then, how would, maybe Clara, we have a new vibe, I guess, with Clara and her team, and new swag. How is that going to work together with this new company? I mean, clearly, if you read the background and look at the pictures, it's definitely a very youthful group, like your ages, which is great. But I just feel like you got Clara, then we got this group. I'm assuming you're going to be working together, and so we're kind of have that same uniformity, or maybe that's not the way you're supposed to do it. I mean, because I am definitely at the upper age group. How are we going to work together? Because I think in the past, it's always been community services, but it seems like our PIO should be involved too.
Yeah, absolutely. So for the past year, Matthew and I have been working hand in hand in the past 2 issues, I believe. We have started inserting city news and our aesthetic together into the recreation guide. So moving forward, when we combine our publications together, we're going to go through the discovery process together to figure out what our branding will look like, what our graphics will look like, and what the creative will look like. So we have a uniform look.
Oh, good. Okay. Okay, branding is the word I was thinking of. Okay, great. Thank you for that.
Absolutely.
I was looking at the list of cities, and it's quite impressive for this group. I didn't see any West San Gabriel Valley cities. It's just us. I mean, Pasadena, but Pasadena's a different beast. So we are going to be kind of the first ones for that group. So it's to their advantage to have us as a client and maybe branch from there. So I did like that we're kind of the first ones in this particular area. Pasadena, I guess, is the San Gabriel Valley, but there's all these other cities. Burbank, I think, was listed, but again, they're very different from where we are. I have to ask about languages. It's one language, right? And then we're going to have a little paragraph that says in Spanish and then in Mandarin, or how are the multiple languages that we have here going to come into play? Because we talk about all these households, and unless you speak English, it's going to be purged right away in the trash can. So how does this group address the languages?
Sure. So the first 4 pages are dedicated just to city news. So those are the ones that would be the focus of the translation, since those are the ones that can be broadly communicated with regards to they are not going to be coming into a program where maybe that language isn't available. So those would be available in Spanish and Chinese. We would need to look at Vietnamese as well as just spacing and the costs that would be associated with that language, but definitely Spanish and Chinese. And then the remainder of the publication would be based off of kind of what is needed at that time. For example, if all of our contract classes, all of the instructors only speak English, it wouldn't make sense for us to offer or to translate it into Chinese, only for them to get there and then be disappointed that there's not someone that can speak the language in which they do. Whereas there might be a city special event that could make sense to translate that information, since once you get there and you're in a festival atmosphere, you don't necessarily need to speak any particular language to know what's going on. You can still enjoy the music, you can still enjoy the games without having that language barrier be an issue.
I guess because if you get something in the mail, typically you look at the first page, and if it's in English, I will suspect that the person's going to say, forget it. You know, you really have to kind of sift through it. And so I don't know if there's a way to bring people in immediately. They see it, and it's like, oh, maybe there's something here for me in my language. Just something to think about, because I just would hate to have it tossed immediately, and I've seen that. So I wanted just to throw that out. And then, let's see. No, I guess that's it. So I'm very excited about this possibility. We do need a fresh kind of look to kind of match what's going on with our social media. So I think this is a great step. And so thank you for all the work that you've gone through. It's been a long process, but I look forward to it. So thank you. That's all.
Thank you. Anyone else? Further discussion? Go ahead. Vice Mayor Wu? Yep.
I just suggest that we can just move to authorize our city manager to sign the agreement.
But I just want to add on something like Councilman Menchaca. So if designers, if we can do like a pop out, not just English, you feel like have Spanish or Chinese or for the first page, just pop out. So maybe they can read the inside. Okay. And another thing is I just want to make sure confirm. So that time we suggest put on our city or the public service, the phone number or contact information, like a police, fire, public work, any like emergency or like a mission playhouse. I think we should be always, each issue have this kind of information put on that, help the resident to, it's very convenient, especially for elder people, they can get this information right away if they want to call. Okay, yeah.
I like that idea.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Well, I'll second the motion.
Did we get an official motion? All right. We have a motion by Vice Mayor Wu, seconded by Councilmember Menchaca.
Motion passes by a vote of 5-0.
Next item, please.
Ordinance number 688, amending Chapter 130 of the San Gabriel Municipal Code regarding general offenses to allow local prosecution of certain misdemeanors, introduction and first reading. City Attorney Lemieux will make the presentation.
Sure, and I think we can do this pretty quickly. This is a item, as you know, that's been before you a couple times. It's, I think at a recent meeting that I wasn't at, you went over a very similar ordinance to the one before you. As you know, this concerns addressing the increase in certain crimes in the San Gabriel area in order to create local misdemeanor crimes that could be prosecuted by our offices. The ordinance that you have in front of you is essentially identical to the one you discussed at the last meeting, with some additions. As a result of the comments we got back, I would direct you to section 130.22 vandalism, subsections capital D and E, include in the definition of vandalism defacing both public and private property. My understanding, I wasn't here, but my understanding is that this addresses some concern from the board regarding broken windows and similar issues. Other than that, the the ordinance is the same as what you considered last time. So what we're looking for is a motion to waive full reading of the ordinance and adopt by title only, and then a second motion to have the first reading of the motion. That completes my report.
Thank you. Didn't want to interrupt your report. Do we have any council members that require that have factual questions or clarifications in the report? Seeing none, do we have any public comment?
We do, Mr. Mayor. The first comment is from Jean Raya, resident and business owner, and reads as follows. Council members, despite a year of discussion and the expense of drafting this proposed ordinance, no data is presented to indicate how the success or failure of this measure will be assessed. In his August 16, 2022 annual report, Chief Harris said the SG Police Department would be data-driven. Yet he supported a plan which leaves critical questions unanswered. What are the programs and/or resources to divert offenders? Are you relying on the community outreach team in the PD to meet this need? What percentage of declined misdemeanors fall into these 5 categories? What data shows that people committing these 5 misdemeanors and whose prosecution was declined have gone on to commit more serious crimes in our city? There are so many generalities and unsupported assumptions in every council discussion of this matter, and in the report, there's not enough time to list them in 3 minutes. I have not seen the data and reasoning that justifies continuing down a path that may cost $150,000 or $250,000, depending on what guesstimate we're looking at. Nothing proposed indicates exactly how our city will be safer. In fact, Member Harrington says if it doesn't work, we'll just have to try something else. He's willing to take a chance with $150,000. Our city residents and business owners deserve better policy for our tax dollars. And then our first speaker card is Andrew.
Good evening again. Everything Ms. Raya said is, you could just diddle that for me. What I'd like to say is, I bought my home here in 1976 here in San Gabriel. In 1976, all these misdemeanors that we're addressing today, they existed. In fact, they were even more. There was more graffiti. There was more gang issues. There was, we called the homeless back then transients. There were drunks on the street. Drugs always existed. None of that has changed. 1976, when I bought my home, it was John Vandekamp was our district attorney, and then we got Phil Abosian, and then Ira Reiner, Steve Cooley. I think I missed Gil Garcetti was in there, and then Jackie Lacey. Now we have Gascon. And the thing is that George Gascon is doing everything that he said he was going to do in his campaign when he campaigned for the office. And the majority of voters in LA County voted for him because that's what they wanted. I didn't vote for him personally, but none of the previous district attorneys did anything to resolve any of these crimes that we're having. And I talked to former Chief Harris about crime a couple years ago. And my whole take on it was that it's this riot mentality, right? We have everything from the highest level of the federal government all the way down to people on the street committing crimes and the people in the middle. And, our former president just got indicted, right? And then when you go in the middle, I don't know if you recall, our mayor, Albert Huang, I believe how he pronounced his name, he was arrested on felony and misdemeanor charges. So a lot of that is here. It's always been here. It's not going anywhere. Like Jean Raya said, what are we going to do with this money? What is going to be the return on our investment? Is there going to be any return? And where are the people? Where are the business owners that John Woo spoke of, the broken windows? Where are the people that got arrested when Eric's house was vandalized in his car? You know, they weren't, there was no arrest. If there's no arrest, there's not going to be any prosecution, you know. And then on the other side, like I brought up in the previous, you know, in the March 7th meeting, what are the penalties, you know, for those who were prosecuted and convicted? Because if there's really no penalty, do we gain anything from investing this money? And on March 7th, you know, I had said how the Justice Department says that, you know, a way to prevent violent crimes in your community is to invest in your community. We're investing in lawyers. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Chastity Jennings Nunez.
Good evening. So I am as tired of being here making comments about this subject as you are tired of hearing me make them. But when this city council is committed to spending $250,000 to almost $500,000 on a scheme that is so poorly developed at this point that you can't even find the words to complete the ordinance that you are all so eager to vote on, I have to say something. You can't truthfully write, whereas other cities of similar size and budgets have instituted local prosecution and seen a decrease in violent crimes. You can't write, whereas 10 cities in LA County who had the ability to prosecute misdemeanors locally before DA Gascon have been spared the rise in violent crime. And you certainly can't claim that whereas cities like Santa Monica and Los Angeles, who have had local prosecution of misdemeanors for many years, have seen a significant reduction in vagrancy and unlawful camping, San Gabriel should be allowed to do so also. You can't write any of these things because they're not true. There is zero evidence that proceeding with this plan is going to result in a decrease in crime in San Gabriel. All 10 cities in LA County that prosecute misdemeanors locally are at least twice as big as San Gabriel, between 70,000 and 3.8 million people. The only exception is Hermosa Beach, and they are only able to do this because they contract with Redondo Beach, a much larger city with a well-established prosecutorial program that predates the current DA. While I am 100% against this line of action, at least I would know it was better thought out if the recommendation was to partner with a larger city like Pasadena that already has an established system to prosecute misdemeanors. Every single one of the 5 changes to the municipal code suggested will result in an increase in fines, citations, and police interactions with our local residents. If this ordinance passes, this summer when your teens and college students are at home and want to have their backyard parties, if they play their amplified music after 8 p.m., they run the risk of being cited and returning to college with their misdemeanor charge on their record. And make no mistake, I will be willing to bet that it's less often that the Joneses party in North San Gabriel is going to be cited than the Garcia's party in the south part of San Gabriel. There are ways to spend $250,000 that would result in a better lifestyle for the majority of residents in San Gabriel. But this plan that has zero accountability or defined metrics for success is definitely not one of them. I urge you to rethink this plan of action and at the very least to be able to answer basic questions on how it will be implemented so that it results in more than just billable hours for attorneys.
Thank you.
I have no more speaker cards.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience who'd like to address the council? Seeing none, we'll close public comment on this. It's now time for council discussion. Councilmember Menchaca.
Thank you. Chief Nakamura, can you please come up?
Good evening.
Good evening. You know, this weekend, or last weekend, I'm sorry, I was in Sacramento representing our city, but I also attended a conference. And I'll say a little bit more under council comments, but one of the top priorities was public safety. And every single city, north, south, mid, everywhere. A lot of conversations about Prop 47, fixing that. A lot about retail thefts and obviously the cities that have big retail, like the Walmarts and all that, there's actually, the Association of Retailers have come together, and they're working with cities who are having these type of crimes. And they have an officer that's assigned, they're referred to as the Retail Enforcement Officer, and so they help our businesses. And so my question to you is, if this ordinance passes, who is going to be leading and coordinating this effort? Has there been some thought there? I'm sure there has been, but I'm just trying to understand the process. You know, we pass this, what are the next steps? Because otherwise, every officer is going to be doing this individually, and there should be a coordinated effort, and I believe there is, if you can just share with the audience.
Sure thing, and that's an excellent question, Councilwoman or Councilwoman Menchaca. So there is going to be a coordinated effort on part of our detective bureau. So this is not going to be a panacea type of ordinance where we're just going to pick and choose who we're going to be enforcing these type of ordinances on. It's going to be enforced on the habitual offenders, the people that don't want to cooperate or don't want to basically follow the rules or laws or our suggestions when it comes to these type of crimes. So our detective bureau is going to be the one that's actually going to be enforcing these on the investigatorial side, because we'll be taking the crime reports. We're not going to use these ordinances just to go out and arrest and cite people. And there's going to be some cases built up. And when it gets to a point where we're going to decide that we're going to need to enforce this ordinance, then that's when the detective bureau will be involved.
And so typically, if it's a first-time offense, even now, but with this ordinance, you give people warnings? Is that what typically, if there's no, injury, if there's no some type of injury to property, aside from those, typically it's the first time they just get a warning, and then I know you talked about diversion programs. When would diversion programs come into play?
So there's a lot of diversion programs available for adults right now. There's just not many for the youth. So we're going to be implementing that really soon with our Community Engagement Bureau, and that'll be presented in the near future. However, since Chief Harris has taken over our department back in 2016, education has been really the pivotal focal point in how we conduct our business as a law enforcement entity in San Gabriel. So our department really heavily does education more so than anything else, especially when it comes to these misdemeanor violations. And I would say about 95 to 99% of the times they work out great, and we solve that problem right there. However, there is that certain 1% to 5% at times where people just choose not to obey the law, and we don't have any other resource except for the fact that we may need to arrest and cite and release at the time, or the DA's office will reject cases and our hands are tied. And we have to deal with the people that are reporting these type of crimes or these type of calls, and we really don't have any substance to be able to solve the problem for that person that is being victimized.
So this gives you a tool to hopefully stop that, some kind of remedy, because right now there's none.
Absolutely. So I would say yes, it is a tool that we could use, but it is not the first tool that we're going to be used out of our tool bag. Obviously, we're going to go through the steps as we do with any other type of calls. There's certain mandated arrests that we have to abide by the state of California, but a lot of these misdemeanor crimes that we speak of today are not mandated arrests, and we do educate on a daily basis, and majority of times we do walk away without a citation or even an arrest.
Okay, thank you. And then if this ordinance does pass, would we, the council, be given like a quarterly report of some sort that says maybe the number of cases involved, maybe, what kind of remedy, whether it's diversion, warning? I mean, would there be some kind of accountability so we don't come back a year from now, or as the report reads, if we get, if it becomes kind of cost prohibitive because we have a $250,000 cap, what is exactly the plan of, I know internally there's an evaluation, but how would we know as council, or maybe as the community, know where are we with this without divulging, any kind of private information?
I believe we could do it two ways. We could do it internally by extrapolating numbers as a police department from a quarterly date perhaps, or through the city attorney's office because they'll be doing the filings directly for us on these misdemeanor ordinances.
Because I was thinking, when you released that report, it's crime statistics. I'm not sure if it's monthly or quarterly, but there's a report that you send out to those who are in your distribution list. I guess it goes to block captains too. It would be helpful to have something, and I don't know if that's appropriate, but with this new ordinance, just kind of have some accountability there, because I know it's been helpful, because you have a whole list of crimes that you give out to the public. I think it would be helpful to have, a progress report of some sort on this particular issue.
I have a suggestion on the cost side. It's routine for our offices to set up a budget for litigation matters, and we track against the budget. So my understanding is that we effectively have a $250,000 budget for the first year of enforcement, so we can track our costs against that. If it looks like we're getting ahead of the budget, we can always bring that to everybody's attention, and then we can figure out how we want to address it at that point.
Well, that's one side, the budget itself, and I'm confident Mark will be following you very closely. But what I'm thinking is the caseload, because we do this already to our residents. Is it monthly, Chief? I forget, is it a monthly report that we get as residents that tell you what the crime statistics are for that month, or is it quarterly?
That's correct, ma'am. It's going to be monthly.
Monthly. So is there a way of inserting this, and I don't know what we would call it, Ordinance 688, which nobody knows what that means, but it just just so we know, how many cases are we talking about? Because I think it's going to be a handful. It's just those handfuls, create so much work that, you're spending a lot of time with them, and if we can just resolve it up front, I think there is some cost savings there, which we'll never be able to really analyze, but we know we'll have less officers trying to get the same people over and over again, and I think that was part of the premise here. Something to consider. We don't have to figure it out tonight, but I think it would be helpful for people to know, what is this really doing? Just kind of moving forward. Obviously, we'll probably have a recap, a year after this, where are we going? Could we do better? So on and so on, but just something to give to the public. And I'm just going to throw that out. You guys could figure it out. And that's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. Who'd like to go next? Vice Mayor Wu?
Thank you, Mayor. Just to clarify, just to verify if my understanding is correct, that for the budget of $250,000, that is the projected cost if we will have so many cases, like we call the misdemeanors violations. But if we have none, the cost is zero.
That's correct.
Okay, so that will be like a pay as we use, or we as you to be our prosecutor when there's a case.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Chan.
I was just going to mention kind of a point that Councilmember Menchaca was making, that and someone might have mentioned it, that, and I think I saw this report, not regarding our city, but some other city, but recently, the statistics that large majority of crimes are committed by a small number of people. So hopefully, if we can get those people off our streets in our neighborhoods, then that would go a long way to decreasing our crime. So I'm in favor of the program. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilmember Ding?
Yes. Right now, the situation that I included Chief talking about the DA not prosecute these misdemeanor, something like that. Community, it's really have some concern. It's both sides concern. If it's a concern public safety, they want at least the city do something to help the community. To especially, I hear a lot of every time right now. If I go to a restaurant, I go to restaurant every talk to my friend and say, don't put on your purse, you're visible in your car, okay? Otherwise, you will be got broken for your windows too. So it's really, even myself, because every time I go there, they say, hey, this place, yesterday have something happen for broken the windows for the car. So we don't know. For my honesty, we don't know it's any like a really good solution, but we try find something or have this kind of prosecute this kind of misdemeanor to help our city to more safety. Maybe I hear about chief talking about it before. If we have this kind of resolution in the charge of the misdemeanor, probably I think the crime people, the person, they will be consideration come to our city to make this happen, right? It's achieved, yeah. So no matter, yeah, it's cost money, I know, but at least we do something to let some community concern about it, especially not just for the business, also for the resident too, to think about it too. So, like I agree, like we can, like a council member Machenga mentioned, we maybe do a monthly report to see what's going on, what's really help. So before we discuss too, we say we assume 1 year, but we try to do at least 6 months the evaluation. But if you can do the monthly, it's pretty good. It's more help too. So if this kind of news, even every time, every year, every month, the council meeting maybe can bring out this kind of the information to us to update it, so we can see, watch up. It's good things to spend this kind of money or do that to evaluation. So then we can see the result. We continue to do that or we stop do that, right? So also Councilmember Wu talking about it, maybe sometimes because this resolution, they don't come in too, so it didn't cost our money. The lawyer, they don't need to go to the prosecutor to them too, right? So yeah, that's my concern. So I think we should be do something. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll give a couple comments. I think some of the public comments I agree with. We need metrics. We need to know what we're spending our money on. We know if we're preventing crime, and if we're preventing crime, how so. I think you can't right now figure out what those metrics will be. And the reason I say that is because report yesterday, New York Times, 327 people accounted for 30% of the shoplifting in the entire city of New York.
That's what I was referring to.
327 people, 30%. And New York's a pretty big place with a lot of shoplifting. If you look through the declinations of San Gabriel, I've gone through every single one of them, the district attorney refused to prosecute. We could probably, and many of them are repeat, so it's the same person or persons or groups of people committing crimes in San Gabriel and then repeatedly committing crimes in San Gabriel. That's what we're trying to get. We're not trying to stop somebody from playing their music loud on a Saturday night, like one of the commenters said. However, if someone repeatedly does that, they might get a citation and figure out, gee, I shouldn't do that, because that's not allowed in our city. I don't think the first time someone does that, our police are going to go out there and roll out, oh, we heard over whatever the decibels are, you're getting prosecuted and you're going to get a fine. That's not the goal of this. The goal of this is the actual people when they are disturbing the peace, when, let's say, the neighbors say, hey, can you please turn that down? And then they say no, and then, okay, I'll call the police. The police show up, say, please turn that down, and they say no, and they turn it back up. That's the type of stuff we're trying to, it is quality of life. These are meant for habitual offenders that for whatever reason, our district attorney has decided we're not going to help San Gabriel with this. And we have a very, very small area that we can actually do anything about it. And so the council has said, why don't we try? And it's not like we're going to spend $500,000 on this. I don't think anyone in the city believes that. I don't believe that. I don't think we're gonna approach 200,000. And let's say we stop a person from doing graffiti, we catch them, and then we prosecute because the district attorney won't. That person might think to not do graffiti again, or I'll get caught, and my understanding is we should have a diversion where, hey, you can clean graffiti for 4 weekends, or you can pay us a couple $1,000s. We can't do that right now. We don't have that tool. I can foresee us having that tool, and perhaps someone might think twice. I don't think they will, but at least we have that tool. If you look at the cost of crime, we have to look at the cost of repeated crime and the cost that it has to the people as well. Those sometimes are unknowable. If someone doesn't commit a crime and there's no cost, how do we know? It's not something you can take a metric on. So the prevention here will never have a metric on it because we don't know which crimes people didn't commit because of this. Maybe the second, third, or 10th one they didn't commit. We caught them on the third one or the first one, and maybe caught them a couple times, and then they figured, hey, I'm going to go do this somewhere else. I'm not going to do this in San Gabriel. That's the goal of this. So that would be my general response to some of the comments. I believe it is incumbent upon this council to do something. And I agree, we've had crime forever, and trying to continue doing things the same way all the time, you're not going to change anything. Nothing changes. So if we want to sit around and not change anything, that's an option as well. We've decided to try something. And I don't think it's a huge risk. If the first month we're spending $20,000, the council's going to say, wait a minute, what's going on? Because we see the bills. We get the bills. If there's a bill that's not in our retainer, it's right there. We'll know it. And if it's second month, it's $20,000 again. And believe me, we'll be asking for a report. That's our job. So I believe if we're getting $20,000 a month bills, we're either going to really want to see some results and get some really detailed reports as to the prosecution, as to the offenders, because that'll all be public. We'll know who they are, what they're being prosecuted for, how much it's costing us, what types of crimes they were committing. So I see this as a tool, and I don't see this as something where it's something that will be abused, because everything we do will be, in fact, much more transparent than what the district attorney is doing. I don't know how many people know about declinations or what's been declined to be prosecuted. I would say probably on the high end, 10 people in our city know that. And they're probably all officers and me. I actually went through the data, I mean, excruciatingly. I read every single report. I read all Chief Harris gave me everything. And you'll see, if you're willing to do that, I think you would come to the conclusion that, wow, these 10 or 12 people in San Gabriel probably should have more contact with police with actual effect and actual consequences than less contact with police. Because they're creating the contact. It's not our police going out there looking for them. They're doing these things. And all the police can do right now is make a referral to the district attorney, and this person that's getting arrested, or not even arrested, cited, knows nothing's going to happen. They're not even being arrested. So I do see this as a tool, and I do see this as something that I believe other councils should consider, and probably will if we're able to give a report out to other cities. This was our experience, this was our cost, here's what we see. And if 6 months from now we think it's not, we don't have to do this. This is an option, it's a tool. So, thank you. Do we have any motions?
Mr. Mayor, I motion to approve the ordinance number 688 at the first introduction and the first reading.
Second. Councilman Chan, second.
Thank you. So we have a motion by Vice Mayor Wu, a second by Councilmember Chan. Please go to the board.
Motion passes by a vote of 5-0.
Thank you. Next item, please.
Mr. Mayor, I have no speaker cards for the second public comment period.
Thank you. City Manager's report. All right. Council comments and conference meeting reports.
May I start?
Certainly.
Okay. Let's see. Sorry. Just wanted to report on a couple events that I attended. Saturday, April 8th, 23, the day before Easter, I attended the San Gabriel Kiwanis Pancake Breakfast. It was a great success, and thank you to Councilwoman Menchaca, very involved with the Kiwanis. President, Chair, right? Oh, okay. And it was perfect weather. It was well attended. So thank you all, residents and everyone else from the area that came. On Tuesday, the 11th, I attended an event with Vice Mayor Wu and council members Menchaca and Ding. It was the Congresswoman Chu came and presented a $4 million check to, well, technically to the Regional Housing Trust, but that would possibly benefit our city, that it would go toward our affordable housing efforts at the property at 405 South Del Mar. And on Sunday, this past Sunday, April 16th, I attended a Filipino-American Chamber of Commerce event where they were leadership awards and officers installation. It was a lunch event in Eagle Rock. But some of you may know that prior to living in San Gabriel, I grew up in Eagle Rock. And I'm happy to know that they're doing well and they have a very strong Filipino-American community, and their Chamber of Commerce is very active. So anyway, that concludes my report. I yield my time.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Wu.
Thank you, Mayor. Last Saturday, Councilmember Ding and I attended an event which is called Walkathon, hosted by the Chinese Christian Herald Crusaders, CCHC. They invite many residents in City of St. Gabriel and also the churches in our neighboring cities to walk from their center on Mission Drive to St. Gabriel Police Station, library, and back to the center. It took about an hour. The funds raised will be used for community services, cancer care, youth education, etc. And I would like to special thanks to our Chief Nagarura and several officers there who escorted the walkathon and make this community event safe and smooth. That's my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Menchaca.
Thank you. First, I'd like to thank my colleagues in the community and the staff, Matthew and Amy in particular, for the Kiwanis breakfast, pancake breakfast and Easter egg hunt. I think we had a record turnout with regards to people. There was very well attended. It was very successful. And I'm happy to announce that we were able to raise enough money that we opened up the portal yesterday. And so as we've done in the past, we're giving out 12 scholarships of $1,000 each. And it's to our private, both our private and public schools in San Gabriel. And we opened it, and within 24 hours, less than 24 hours, we already have 21 applications, which is pretty amazing. So it tells you there's a tremendous need out there, but it also tells you that the students have honed in with the Kiwanis and really know that we're there for them. And the pancake breakfast, that's where most of the money is coming from. So thank you to everyone. Second, I was going to have somebody from the community academy. I'm not sure if it's the chief or maybe it's the captain that may want to put a little plug in there, because I know there's still spaces, maybe share why someone should participate in the community academy. So one of you, if you'd like to come up and talk about it. I was trying to give you, Chief, a break, but okay, if the captain doesn't want to come up, that's fine. Okay. This is your moment to try to get more people to participate.
Hello again, and yeah, thank you for mentioning the Community Academy. It's one of those great things that, again, Chief Harris has implemented back in 2017, actually. And it's been a hit that even Andrew is coming back for the second time. And things have changed since he's last went through the academy, because I think you were in the academy the first time. And a lot of personnel has changed over the years, and a lot of the way that we do our policing has also morphed into different ways that we've kind of fostered over the years when Chief Harris was on the helm of the department. And I believe that this community academy is something that more people should actually decide to participate in if they really want to get to know the police department. Just like the CERT program, they have a great CERT program, and as Andrew mentioned, If a lot more people were participating in those things, those type of activities, they would really get to know our personnel on an intimate basis and really get to understand what we do and how we react to certain things and why we do certain things and why sometimes we get criticized for doing certain things, so on and so forth.
So can you give dates and, because it's 6 weeks, right?
Yeah, it's 6 weeks out, and
10, okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Maybe Andrew should give it, give the report.
Right, and the participants don't have to be there every single class because we know that many people are working in the community, but we do encourage them to come to as many classes as possible. There's some fun things to do, like shooting on the range, and also watching people getting tasered. So those are kind of the fun things that they get to interact with. And they don't have to participate being tasered or shooting a gun, but then it's probably something that they would like to be experiencing at the least. And I'll let my captain speak a little bit about it.
Yeah, if the chief hasn't given you incentive enough, I'll be giving a presentation on May 4th, just an overview of the department. I've been involved with Community Academy in the past, and I think it's just a great outreach to the community and a great tool, as Andrew can attest to. It's one of those events and one of those programs that I really want the community to know about, and we're doing our best to get the word out there on social media and throughout the city channels. But it's something that really could benefit just building a community, having our community look at us more closely. If scrutinize is the proper word, great. That's what we're here for. We have no problems kind of letting the community know what we do, some of the good things and some of the difficult things that we do on a daily basis, and that's all that the Community Academy is about. So. Yeah, I'd encourage you to go there, and I look forward to seeing maybe some members of the community and maybe some members of the city.
I was going to mention to my colleagues, I know my last term, I went just for one class because, I had a lot of out of the city plan, so I couldn't make it to each one of them. But just attending one, you can just see the value. And I had an opportunity to also speak to the residents who attended. And so those who attend, and I've talked to several over the years, never regret it. I mean, they wish that everybody, somehow we would force people to participate because it's such a great program. They're as enthusiastic as Andrew. So I want to encourage everyone to really sign up. And that's a good point. If you can't make all 6 or all 10, it is a huge commitment. But my colleagues, if you can just attend one, I think you'll see the value.
And it's ever evolving too. We're going to have it's been changing, we've been revamping it, and we're going to have our Community Engagement Bureau heavily involved. So you're going to see if you are fortunate enough to attend, you're going to see some new things and some new ideas out there as well.
It's up to the chief and the captain.
Yeah, sure. Andrew, come on up.
Yeah, go ahead.
And the mayor.
Council comments, so you can, it's your comment.
Okay, go ahead, Andrew.
With all due respect, I just want to say what I got out of the class, the first time I went to the academy in 2018 was my responsibility as a member of the community. That's real important because a lot of people think, oh, we're going to go and see what's up with them. I got out of it was my responsibility as a member of the community. And I think that a lot of people kind of saw my view on that. And that's what I felt was real important.
Excellent point, Andrew.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, is there anything else you'd like to say? Okay, thank you to both of you.
Well, one last thing, Councilwoman Menchaca. So what we spoke about this program being morphed, it is not the traditional type of style where we're just standing up there and lecturing to our community. We actually learn from our community members by them giving us input in some direction or in some experience that they've had with the police or fire departments in the past. So that's how we actually make this program a lot more robust and a lot more successful going into the future. So we encourage the community members to really engage in that dialogue with our police department folks.
Great.
Can I say something?
Sure.
So I'm a good witness. I'm attended the first one, 2017. That time called the City Academic, Citizen Academic. And I attended all the meeting. It's really good. So I encourage everybody to, if you have chance. But it's good since I remember the second year you provided the Chinese speaking the academic. So it's a really, I've heard the feedback, it's a pretty good. For myself, it's if you don't have chance to attend this kind of academic, go there. it's really learning a lot of things from our police department. Like Andrew say, we are part of that too, not just our police. So it's really help encourage all the community members to attend this very good resource. Yeah, thank you.
Great, okay, well, you have more than your time now.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And a couple more things. On Saturday, Vice Mayor Wu and I attended a dinner at our local mosque, and it's to commemorate the holy month of Ramadan. It was, again, very well attended. Congresswoman Judy Chu was there, Assemblymember Mike Fong, and yours truly, and our Vice Mayor. So, blessings to all of them as they conclude. I believe this Thursday is the end of Ramadan. And then lastly, as for the League of California Cities, I attended their summit as well as spoke to Assemblymember Mike Fong on some issues that are relevant to our city. But it was a great conference, lots to learn. I think I mentioned before there were 4 priorities: affordable housing, public safety, homelessness, and fiscal sustainability. And there were, I mentioned the retail officers, there are grants out there to provide some kind of guardrail to protect our local businesses, whether they're large or small, but there is a real big push to come together and work with each other, find solutions, because it is more so than ever before. Crime has just escalated. And it seems to be beyond just, in our case, the district attorney, but just in general, crime has gone up tremendously. And of course, as we all know, the true victims of retail theft are the employees as well as the customers. So we need to do more together. And at a regional level, there are so many possibilities. Affordable housing, just again, the same issues. But what was interesting that they said was that the face of those who need affordable housing has definitely changed. It's now teachers and nurses, first responders, and so we're doing a disservice as a community not to be able to provide options. They also talked about possibly those who own property right now. I believe it's the rental property. Why are they not sharing in the burden? So there were some interesting conversations there. Don't want to scare anybody, but if you own land or if you own some kind of rental units, you might be next. And I do have the brochure here if any of my colleagues would like to look at it, but I encourage everyone to attend a conference. It's a networking, it's best practices. Oh, there was one more, AI, which has been on the news a lot lately, especially with the CBS 60-minute episode. But there is one city that I shared with Mark already that they are in the beta stage right now, but they are going to use AI to translate in any languages their city council meetings. And so the individual, the resident, would just hit whatever language they want, and it would translate automatically. There is some upfront cost, and that's what they're working through. But once they get through that, they're expecting to be able to use it by the beginning of the year. So, regardless of what you think of AI, it's here. And there could be some very positive ways that we can use AI to engage our community more. And that is it. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. I just have two items. Number one, I attended the Metro.
So go ahead.
Oh, did you have more?
Yeah, I just go ahead.
I had two items. One is the Metro regional Metro meeting last week. One of the highlights, we had a report on the new ambassador program, which people may not be aware of, but there's I think they hired 300 ambassadors to ride buses and trains. Hopefully get more eyes out there and people that can make quick reports to safety and other issues that may arise. So that's a really good program. So if you see someone in a green shirt, that's what they're there for. Go ahead and talk to them.
That's the green shirts?
Yep, they're ambassadors.
Thanks.
So feel free. They're there to chat with and just not only complaints, they're friendly people. I encourage that. Also, last week we had the monthly meeting for the ICA, which is coming up in July. I would encourage the entire council. There's a couple things they're focusing on. This meeting's gonna be on infrastructure, housing, and mental health are gonna be some of the major topics. There's a new discount if you get all the council members to attend. It's 10% less, so it's kind of like the early bird. But if everyone attends, then it's 10% off of the fee.
I've already signed up.
That's 2. 3. So if we get all 5, they're having a competition to see which city has the most attendance. So last time in the winter it was I want to say Lakewood. I think it was Lakewood. They had all 5. So let's try and meet that. And that's all I have. Councilmember Ding.
Okay, yeah, it's like I already mentioned, the Apple A, it's for the Kiwani Club, it's egg hunt. That's I really like this traditional the event. I attended a couple of years even before the pandemic. It's this year. It's after pandemic, it's still good, very good, and also Apple 11. I mentioned to the Judy Chu the bring the $4 million for our city. We have opportunity for the affordable housing. It's a good event too, and 15 April 15 is for the walk zone. That's her question center. They do the also consistent. It's maybe 20 years already. So I even before pandemic I go there. This year it's really enjoy the compare after the pandemic. The community involvement. So it's this egg hunting and the walk zone. It's really bring the city a lot of the activity and bring the community together. It's really good. So hopefully it's continue that. And then I want to asking the economic development. So for our small business assistant, so what's the deadline? You know why? Because I go to the website, it's don't have quickly say what's the deadline. So hopefully put on that to remind the people, don't wait,
The advertisement had the deadline at the end of this week, but we've already reached our capacity on the general grant fund, which is 38 to 40 approved applications. So we are now in a wait list system where we're still collecting applications.
Okay.
But we're putting them on a wait list in case we either introduce another program or in case one of the 38 to 40 drop off because they're ineligible. The relocation grant program, we're about 2 or 3 approved applications so far. We have 10 slots. That deadline is now to the end of the year, so we have time on that one.
Okay.
But the general grant fund, technically speaking, as advertised, is the end of this week. But like I said, we've reached our capacity at this point.
Okay, all right. So currently I have a 38 applicant.
Up to 40 right now.
Up to 40.
Right.
Okay. I think it's compared with last time, it's still too small. Last time almost 400. Right now just 40. Yeah, maybe we should be do the more outreach to let the people have an opportunity. So because I don't want to hear that say, oh, last time they didn't hear about it, so they didn't apply. So I hope we can maybe ours to try do our best to outreach this small business. Hopefully they can submit the application.
We did receive over 65 the first 2 days.
Oh.
Because of the vetting process, we were able to approve up to
okay,
40.
so actually 65 is for
At this point,
okay.
Excuse me. At this point, we've reached at least 80 applications. Or so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you. That's it. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Ding. Next closed session, we have none tonight. Adjournment. So without objection, I'll adjourn the meeting to Tuesday, May 2nd, 2023 at 6:30 p.m.